Hey y'all, today I'm just gonna be putting makeup on my face and talking about it. Some first impressions, some reviews. Some of it's new. I just was watching a video of Trixie Mattel, like trying new makeup. I think it was like a Trixie Mattel trying new makeup. And at the very beginning of the video, she was like, and I found that as a viewer very enticing. So now I'm passing it on. So I have some new products from Persona, Kaja, a new sunscreen that I haven't tried from Derma-E, and then I have some of my OG products here as well. I'm gonna be mixing new and old in this video. I actually have a couple of eyeshadow palettes that are new to me that I kind of like, but instead of using them, I'm gonna try to dupe the vibes of them basically because I wanna give them away instead of keeping them. So I'm in the process of using my old makeup instead of these new palettes to make sure that I can do whatever I would do with them with my old makeup, and we're doing that today on camera. If this is your first time to my channel, then welcome. I'm glad that you're here. And what I just said about duping the vibes of new stuff to remind myself that my old stuff is good, that's like a lot of what I do and talk about here as beauty content. So I really love makeup. I like reviewing stuff. I like reviewing new stuff when it comes my way. It's such a pleasure, but I really love keeping an edited collection as well. I don't want to have so much makeup that I just like can't even keep it all in my makeup mind palace. So I'm often reminding myself that what I already have is good enough, and reminding you hopefully that in many cases what you already have is good enough. If that sounds good to you, I hope that you'll subscribe. Now let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. I just have a little bit of a serum on my face. It's just like a basic hyaluronic acid serum. And I also just a sheet mask. It was the first time that I've used a sheet mask from this box, which is, it's like you think you've seen it all, and then you see a thing like this. This is by the brand I Do Care. They sent me a couple of pieces in PR a while back, and this is like a box of sheet masks. It's like a box of baby wipes or something, you know what I mean? But it's sheet masks, and you like pull them out with these little tweezers. I can't. I actually kind of like the mask. I liked it. It was a pretty low-key one, you know what I mean? Like not too much serum, just like about 20 minutes for my face to absorb it all. So the hyaluronic acid serum, it's like pretty well soaked in, but my skin still feels very moisturized, and there's a bit of a presence of skincare on my skin. And that's how I like to test a new sunscreen, because I feel like the thing that's really gonna make a sunscreen not work for me is if it pills on top of highly moisturized skin, or if it pills on top of skincare. So this is the Derma-E Scar Cream Sun Protectant SPF 35. So it's an SPF 35 that also has ingredients in it that help to fade scars. I love the idea for that because sunscreen is something that I put on my face every day. It's like making direct contact with my skin every day. A scar cream, that's something that you want to, use consistently. And so I feel like having a 2-in-1 product for this kind of thing could potentially really help with scars, if it's a good sunscreen, if it's something that really makes me want to wear it. This is the first time I've pumped it out, so, it's taking a long time for the pump to prime itself. When this happens, you always go through that moment where you're like, is it ever gonna come out? Maybe it's broken. Maybe it's broken. Is it ever gonna come out? I've definitely pumped it like 50 times at this point. I think it might be broken. Oh! I just had to squeeze it. I had to like squeeze, there's like air trapped in there. I had to squeeze it to get the product up to the top, up to the pump. Okay. All right, that was a trial. Oh, it feels really, really nice. All right, here's what I have to say. This is obviously a first impressions, but here's what I have to say right now. It's definitely got a presence. It's almost a little bit greasy, and I really like it when sunscreens kind of disappear into the skin and then they're like gone, when they like don't add too much weight to the skin, So it's not necessarily like the most impressive formula I've ever had on my face, because I feel like, for example, the Erin's Faces Mineral SPF, that's really impressive because it goes onto the skin, you rub it in, and then suddenly it sort of disappears into the skin. So it protects the skin, but it doesn't add like a layer of something in between. It doesn't feel like it adds a layer of something. It adds sun protection. But this is one of those ones where you can really feel it on the skin. However, there is the benefit to that sometimes, in that if my skin was feeling really dry, I could see appreciating this kind of slightly oily layer that it's leaving on my skin. And it definitely was cosmetically elegant going on. It just feels like a little bit of a heavier moisturizer than most of the sunscreens that I really fall in love with. It also didn't pill, which is great. It didn't do that thing where it started setting in like a layer, a peely layer, and then started pilling. I definitely like it enough to use it again, especially if it's going to be helping with some of this scarring that I'm dealing with. Okay, nice. I'm gonna quickly, while I let that set, because I wanna just see what it's gonna do over the next like minute and a half, instead of just going right in with primer on top of it. So while I let it set, I'm gonna quickly put a little bit of product in my brows. I've been really into the Refi brow gel. I've been using that almost every day. But today I'm gonna use this Merit product, volumizing pomade, just to get a little bit more of a natural, a little bit of like a full, but more natural rather than laminated look in my brows. I think I'm gonna be going for something kind of natural today, but maybe like very blushy, like light on everything except for heavy on the cheeks. I think that that's the vision. All right, I think that that's all that I'm gonna be able to get this Merit brow gel to do. It's a very light hold, natural shape, but it definitely adds some bushiness. It's kind of like an elevated version of boy brow. And the sunscreen, after that sort of 3-minute brow moment, it feels like it's set a little bit more, but it doesn't feel any more in danger of pilling than it did before. So that's great, fantastic. It could have gone very badly. I've tried sunscreens before where I had to like wash them off and start over. And I'm glad that that didn't happen. So I'm gonna put this Wet n Wild Glass Correct all over my face. I've been using this constantly since I started trying it weeks ago. I've been using it a lot. I gave a very in-depth review of this in a recent video, so I'll try to remember to link that one down below in case you missed it. It doesn't do all that much color correcting, but it also doesn't have any pigment in it that's like darker than the color of my skin, which a lot of my illuminating primers do have. So that's been refreshing. I've been enjoying it a lot. But I'm still gonna use a green color corrector, and I'm gonna use these two OG products. Lately, I've been really trying to do the least in terms of layering on my skin. So I've been doing like just a little bit of green color corrector, and instead of mixing in like a BB, like a dewy BB cream, which is what I had been doing for a long time, I'm just mixing in my Makeup Forever concealer, which is like the concealer I've been using for years. It's really, really thin and skin-like, and it's also a very pale color. So I'm ending up, like it's pale for me, it's like my brightening color. So I'm ending up with this kind of like really light green paste basically, and then rubbing that into my skin almost like some sort of moisturizing product or BB cream. It hasn't covered every scar, but I feel like it's made a huge difference with very little product, and it's completely undetectable on my skin. Like you wouldn't look at this in real life. You can't really see that I'm wearing makeup. You really actually can't see that I'm wearing makeup, but I feel like overall the tone of my skin, overall my face looks better with that really thin layer of product on it. It's almost like a custom skin tint. Like for me, the dream color for something like the Glossier skin tint is this, like really, really pale, pasty, white toned green, but semi-sheer. So I'm making like the color that when it's mixed with the reddish color of my skin will make the neutral color that I want. I'm making that color. So it's like this plus the color of my skin, the way that it was when I woke up, that makes this. And so because of that, I'm putting a really, really thin sheer layer on so that the color that you see is the color of this mixed with the color of my skin instead of a thick layer, so you're just seeing this color. And I like that because I end up with a color that I want, but with a very, very thin layer of product on my skin. So I'm actually really happy with that as a base, but I'm gonna spot conceal a teeny bit with this NARS spot concealer. I usually use a brush for that, but none of the brushes that I use for that are clean right now, and I would rather just use my fingers rather than putting like a dirty brush on my face because I'm trying really, really hard not to do that these days. And you know, it's fine. You can still see a little bit spots, a little bit texture, but I just feel like my skin overall looks so much better than it did 5 or 10 minutes ago, and that's enough for me. I'm gonna do something though that I've been doing lately that's really interesting for me, which is using this kind of hefty but silky powder. This is also something I've had for a really long time. It's the Givenchy Prism Libre powder. And I've been enjoying actually going the distance and putting it on my face like with the poof and then brushing it off. It does a bit of color correcting because it's got like this green, purple, blue, and then really, really bright, almost blue-white powders, like these 4 different colors of powder. So it does like it bumps the color correcting just a little bit, makes it just a little bit more of that neutral pale color. And I don't know, it's got like a sort of delicate, powdery, but not cakey or not makeup-y finish that I've been enjoying lately. It's been in my drawer for a long time. I haven't reached for it in a really long time. And I just started experimenting with it again. And I'm as delighted with it now as I would be if it were like completely brand new. I'm gonna go ahead and put a gloss on my lips just because they're feeling really dry. And I already know what I wanna wear. So it's like, why not start there? This is one of the things that's like a piece of new makeup that I've been trying. It's from Kaja. It's the Gloss Shot. And it's in this alluring shade called Rosy Mocha. I really like the shape of the wand. I like using both the inside of the curve and the outer edge of it. What I've been doing is using like the back of the curve of the wand sort of to line my lips with gloss. And then if I want to deposit more product on my lips, I'll turn it over and deposit it from like the inside curve of the paddle because that's where more gloss tends to collect. But for now, I don't feel like I need to do that. That applied plenty of gloss to my lips. It's a good formula. It's like a little bit beefier and a little bit stickier. Like it's got a little bit more hold on itself than, for example, the one from Tower 28. So it's not that super slick, glossy, balmy thing. Like the Tower 28 and the Flower Beauty ones are the ones that I think of as being like that. It's a little bit thicker than that. But I really, really like it. And I like the fact that it's a little thicker. It's almost like it makes it last longer. As I've been testing it this week, a thing that's happened a couple times is that I've put it on and then I see myself in the mirror like an hour or two later and my lips are still looking really glossy and I'm like, whoa, that lip gloss is like still going strong unexpectedly. So I like that. And I also really like this rosy color. It came in a duo with another one. Let me see if I can find the other one. Yeah, it came in a duo with this slightly paler version, which is called Milk Tea. And they sent these to me. They sent me the little double shot duo. So the Milk Tea one is, you would think it would be the one that I would like more because it's like lighter. You'd think it would be more neutral or more natural on me. And it is nice. It's perfectly nice. I actually really like both of these colors. But there's something about this one. There's something about the way that it kind of adds just a little bit of depth to the lips. It's almost like it brings out, it highlights the fact that my lips are naturally a bit pigmented. It like makes a point of showing the fact that my lips are naturally a bit pigmented. And I think that anytime you can enhance something about your appearance that's naturally you, that's actually always like a good thing to lean into. All right, let's do eyes. I'm excited to talk to you about what I'm doing today with my eyes. These are 2 eyeshadow palettes that have recently come my way in PR. The Shadow Kiss palette from Alter Ego and the new Aether Beauty Rose Quartz Crystal palette, which I think they might have reformulated it. And the shadows are really nice. Like I don't think I've ever used an Aether Beauty eyeshadow palette before, so I can't compare it to how it used to be. I've been really into this shade. And in the Alter Ego Shadow Kiss palette, I've been really into this shade. Basically for the past 2 weeks, every time I've done my eyeshadow, it's been one of these 2 all over the lids. But here's the thing, as beautiful as they are, and as good as the formulas are, because the formulas are actually great for both of these palettes, as beautiful and as good as they are, and as much as I like them and as much as I'm enjoying using them, I want to keep these because I have so much beautiful eyeshadow. I really am tempted though, because I really like the looks that I've been getting. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm going to use some of my single eyeshadows to try to get the eye look that I've been getting for the past 2 weeks by using these 2 palettes, just to remind myself that I can get the same look in a variety of different ways. And in this case, hopefully it means that I won't be tempted anymore to keep these. I would love to give these away as gifts because what beautiful gifts to be able to give. I have already built myself a little custom palette to support this project, and I filmed myself building this palette. I filmed it as an overhead video. It may or may not have already gone up on my channel. If it has, I'll link it down below. If not, you won't have long to wait. It'll be going up soon. And in that video, I'll get up close and personal with these palettes and the shadows that I really love from them. And I get up close and personal with my collection of single shadows, and I talk about not necessarily duping out these palettes, but duping the vibes of the look that I've been getting from those palettes. And this is the first time I've actually used it. I filmed the overhead video building this palette yesterday, and I haven't had the chance to use it yet. I'm gonna go straight in with this big square pan that's in the middle of the top row. It's a shadow from Alter Ego. And I think that Alter Ego might not be making these single shadows anymore, but you know, the point of this isn't for you to buy the single shadows I'm using. It's for you to be inspired by the fact that I'm duping the vibes with the collection that I already have instead of buying something. Man, I gotta say, I'm not mad at how my brows look right now. They're, you know, a little bit tangled and a little bit unstructured compared to the look I've been getting with the Refi, but I'm not mad. I already feel like this is as good as the palettes that I want to keep but don't want to keep. Like just I just laid down the shadow just to begin with. I haven't even blended it or done anything, and I'm already like, oh yeah, this is fine. Like, why do I need those other palettes? This is great. Didn't I say I was gonna go light on the eyeshadow today? It was just gonna be cheeks and that's it. We're not doing that anymore. We're doing the most. Well, it's not really the most, but it's gonna be a little bit of a deeper, grungier eyeshadow look than I was claiming that it was going to be. I'm gonna put some of this same shadow on my lower lash line. Man, I just gotta say, because I haven't said it in a long time, I love my Rephr brushes so much. Sometimes when I'm using them, especially when I reach for this, this O2, this like flat, it's this shape. It's like a slightly fluffy, flat shader brush, buffing brush. It's amazing for underneath the eyes. Sometimes when I reach for it to do this, what I'm doing right now, I remember those early days when I first got these brushes and I started using them to do this. And I remember how much it just changed my life to have these like really beautifully made tools. I take it for granted now that it's just really easy to apply eyeshadow and to get it to do what I want. And I think I forget sometimes how much of that is because of these brushes. It's like the best PR I've ever gotten. All right, we're doing this a little bit scattered, a little bit out of order, but the next thing that I'm going to do is to put this Persona Cosmetics eyeliner in my waterline. They sent me this in the shade Plum, which I really love because I have the brown and it's a great formula. And I just feel like this is a really dusky, really brownish plum. I think the Persona Cosmetics brown, it's a very, very, very warm toned brown. And this is so brown of a plum that it's almost like it's just a cool toned or purple leaning brown. It functions that way. It's a great color for an eye pencil. Yeah, it's really pretty and it's really creamy. And I feel like with this kind of taupey purple, it's like ashes of lavender, you know, I feel like it just blends right in. All right, let's go back to the upper lids. I'm gonna take this kind of like darkish brown here and just give my outer corners a little bit of structure. This is a Natasha Denona Shadows from the Gold palette. It looks so warm and sort of soft in the pan. And then it ends up being so rich and kind of cool, or at least neutral, much more neutral than it looks when it's applied to the eyes, which I find is true of a lot of Natasha Denona shades, much darker once they're applied. All right, it's kind of a messy job, especially the blend like between my skin and the shadow itself. That's kind of like a hard line. And so I'm gonna blend that more by putting a sheen of glitter over it. It's like one of my favorite ways to blend a harsh line. You know, I love doing a messy job. I'm all about a messy job. I feel like maybe that could be my drag name. Please welcome to stage, Messy Job. Oh my gosh, I'm living. I am just succeeding wildly, I feel, at my goal here, which is to fall more in love with what I already owned than I have fallen in love with these palettes that came new to me in PR. That's happening for me right now. these are my tried and true, right? So even though these are new and there's something really exciting, the novelty is really exciting of like playing with something new and having something new. And that novelty has driven me to pick up those palettes time and time again over the past couple of weeks instead of my old makeup, getting my old makeup back out, doing what I've been wanting to do on my actual face with it. I just feel better than I have been playing with the new stuff, because my old stuff, it's like made it through several declutters. The formulas are perfect for me. It's just, it couldn't be better. It doesn't get any better than this, you know? And this is just a really good reminder, because that's easy to forget. In the face of the excitement over something new, it's easy to forget that it doesn't get any better than your tried and true stuff that you already love. But I'm remembering it now. Hoo boy. All right, what do we want to do? We could get very exciting with the layering, because I've got this Cleona shade in here. This is Cleona Grisaille. I really love the smoky neutrality of what's going on here, but it's hard to not put this on because it's here. So we've got that, and then I've got, of course, these really exciting shimmer shades from the gold palette, which I think I'm just gonna go in, y'all. I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna put some Cava, which is that shiny champagne, some Sparks, which is this shiny kind of like white gold, and a little bit of Grisaille on the center of the lids. Here we go. All right, I'm gonna get in really close and show you what I did just now, because I told you I was gonna put those 3 shadows on, but I want you to really understand what I did. I took Cava, which is the slightly champagne color of like glittery topper, and I pressed that with my finger all over from like the inner corner all the way up to like all the way under my brow, all the way up to my brow to halfway across. So like this entire surface area basically on both eyes is Cava. And that blended the base color into my skin color, because, you know, those glitters reflect so much light that it blurs the line. Then I tapped some of Grisaille, more than I had intended to, but I just had so much on my finger. I tapped it on the center of the lid, basically all over from the center, keeping it low and then going up higher as I got to the middle. So it's basically like all over here on both lids. And then on the brush, I did both of those with my fingers. And then on the brush, this little blendy brush, which is another one that I really love from Rephr. I believe it's the P07F. It's such a good little brush. I took Sparks, which is the most neutral one, and the palest one is that light kind of gold, really, really gold white reflective glittery topper. And I used that on the brush to blend all up from my brow, underneath my brows, all the way to like the edge out here. I blended this whole area, the line between the base shade and my skin, all over this whole area. I blended that with Sparks. So it's like reflecting light and giving that wet look sheen, but without adding too much color. But I didn't put anything on top of just my very outer V, because I wanted the dark shadow that I had put there to smoke out the lids. I wanted that to stay pure. I wanted it to stay kind of like dark there instead of washing glitter over it and brightening it. And now, if I were really doing the most, I would go back again with that brown shadow and deepen up the outer corner even more to kind of reinforce the smokiness. But I'm okay with it being a little bit lighter than that today. I'm gonna stick with this. I'm just gonna put mascara on. I'm very, very pleased with how it's come out. I just kind of feel like these palettes could never, you know what I mean? If I only had one of these, like if I just had this Alter Ego Shadow Kiss palette and it was my only eyeshadow palette, it would be great. I would get like a bunch of great looks with it. I would be able to do a lot of beautiful stuff with it and would be perfectly happy. But it could never go this distance, you know what I mean? It just doesn't have all of the dynamic elements that my own custom palette does. And so I'm happier with this look than I've been, even with the wonderful looks I've been getting with those palettes. Lesson learned. It's time to do cheeks, and I was all set to like do the most with my cheeks, but I don't know if that's really in the cards anymore because I've kind of done the most with my eyes. But I do want to test out the Persona bronzer, the Persona cream bronzer, because this is actually first impressions. I haven't used this yet. But I did open it today and it came with this little like plastic cap on it. And when I took the plastic cap off, it took a bunch of product with it. So that's not the greatest, but you know, these things happen. And of course, if I love the product and if I enjoy the color, then I'll very shortly use up enough product to smooth it out again. It's a little bit hard to tell how it's gonna go. I could see it leaning a little orange on me, and I might not love that. I'm gonna swatch it next to these Glossier bronzers that I have. Yeah, it looks very similar to Ray, which is the more yellow toned of the Glossier bronzers. Oh, no, you know what? Actually, it looks more similar to the lightest Glossier bronzer. So here's the lightest Glossier bronzer, Flare. There's Ray, which is the second lightest Glossier bronzer. And then on top here is the Persona bronzer, which does come, I think, in 2 shades. And this is the lightest shade, Dune Bronze Multi-Stick. Maybe it'll work. Let's do it. Let's put it on my cheeks. I use bronzer as blush, by the way, so don't be alarmed. This is normal for me. Okay, first impressions, the blend is beautiful. It's blending beautifully. It has that kind of lipsticky quality that I love in a cream cheek. So it's blending and it's diffusing, but it's retaining its pigment rather than doing any of that kind of like swipey, wipey stuff that more like gel creams do. So I really like that. It's promising. The color also looks good, but I have to be clear that one of the things that's going on here is that because I have so little base product on, and because I didn't put very much base product at all on my cheeks right here, because I knew I was gonna be putting product on top, the color of my cheeks, the natural rosy color of my cheeks, is coming through. So I think that it's looking a little bit redder, like a little bit rosier than it would look if I were applying this product a little more carefully on top of like a super neutral blanked out face of foundation. This is more like, even though I'm wearing base product all over my face, the look we're getting is more like what one would get if one applied this as a super natural thin layer on a bare face or just on a primed face. All right, intensifying the product a little bit and a little bit further back. You know, it definitely looks like a bronzer. It's a bit sculpting. I have very little experience with cream bronzers, and I don't think I've ever actually had a stick bronzer before. So I'm just basing this on like my experience with cream blushes, for example. Like or just my experience with makeup in general. And it's great. I can't compare it to other stick or cream bronzers, except for the Glossier Solar Paints, which I've, recently reviewed. And to me, those are just like alternate colors of cloud paints, again, because blush and bronzer are kind of interchangeable for me. But I found that I think I've always been a little bit afraid of bronzer sticks, but this is applied beautifully, blended beautifully, does have a little bit on me of an orange undertone, maybe more than I would, I would prefer if it were a blush. I would like this, but much more pale and beige, or like a stick version of Glossier Dusk or something, from Persona. I would live for that. Like I would love that. But they're trying to make a bronzer, and it's definitely more of that like golden bronze color that bronzers come in. So yeah, I don't think I can complain. I mean, if you've been eyeing this and you love the color and you love Persona, I give it my stamp of approval in terms of like how the formula performs and ease of use, how it blends out. Nothing went wrong with it for me. I don't know how much I'll end up using it just because I don't really use cream bronzers, but I don't know. I feel like it's partly that and also the color. It's just, again, it's like that slight orangey quality. But you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put some of this Kaja Cheeky Stamp blush on it. And I've tested this a little bit by like just reaching in and touching it with my finger. I haven't like stamped it yet, but I'm actually gonna do it now. I'm gonna like do it the way you're supposed to do it with the heart stamp. So the stamp like pulls off of the top. It's like a very clunky thing. Lots of business going on just for this gimmick. But I feel like oh gosh, that's a lot of blush. It's gonna be too much. I'm just gonna stamp it on my hand first. I just want a little bit on my cheeks. Aw, cute. It's cute. Oh, it's cute. It's fun. It's cute. It's more cute and more fun than I thought it was going to be. Okay, Kaja. Okay, I feel like this is really bringing alive the bronzer. I think maybe what was going on is that I was trying to wear the bronzer just fully as a blush, and it's actually a bronzer. So it's like got that warmth, that quality. And maybe what I'm learning here is that if you just wear a bronzer as a blush, if it's just a straight up bronzer, you can kind of end up with that slightly sickly look, or maybe just with my complexion, with the undertones of that bronzer, I ended up with that slightly sickly look. But it's very obvious to me in this moment that the bronzer is supporting the look of this blush. Like, I think that this is a stunning cheek. I'm really, really into the way this cheek looks, but it's not simply because of the blush, it's because of the combination. It's because I did what you're supposed to do, and I put bronzer on, and then I also put blush on. So I've got that kind of like warm, bronzy quality on my skin, but then the blush is like adding what blush adds, that like brightness. It's like bringing me alive a little bit compared to how it looked with just the bronzer. So, okay, maybe I understand bronzer today for the first time in my life, and I feel like I'm gonna wear this combination again. I'm blown away by how much I like it. But here's what I'll say about the Kaja, what is this product even called? Cheeky Stamp. And this is in the shade 02 Saucy. Here's what I'll say about the Kaja Cheeky Stamp. It smells like Herbal Essences conditioner. And the smell is kind of strong and it kind of lasts. Like, I was wearing this yesterday, and during the day I was kind of like, someone wearing Herbal Essences conditioner? Really takes me back to my preteens, when I loved nothing more than to put half a bottle of Herbal Essences conditioner into my hair and barely rinse it out and then go about my business. All right, this is more makeup than I intended on wearing today. It's a little bit LOL because I was here like, it's gonna be really natural, just really blushy. And I mean, it is really blushy, but I feel like the fact that I did what I did with the eyes, I think the moment that the worm turned was when I decided to use Grisaille, the Cleona shade. If I had just left that sort of smoky purple taupe and then I had washed glitter all over it, it would have toned it down a little bit. It would have ended up a little more natural. But that Cleona shade is really like glowing from my eyes, really, really popping and shining and making it look much more glamorous than I intended to look today. But that's okay with me. Let's do that thing where we go back through all the products and I talk about whether I liked them or not. The sunscreen, very impressive. I'm gonna keep using this and see if it helps to lighten my scars. What a great product. What a great product. A sunscreen that also treats your skin. Thanks, Derma E, love it. My OG other base products, well, I mean, this is the Glass Correct is maybe on its way to becoming an OG. I've only had it for, a month and a half at this point, but it's fantastic. I really love it. But of course, it would never do me dirty. My other base products were great. The ones that I always use were great. Really enjoying reconnecting with that Givenchy powder. I just feel like just in my skin, it's like it doesn't look powdery, but it's also not doing that thing where it's gleaming, like every square inch of it's gleaming and slightly enhancing the crevices, like the topography of my face. I feel like we want to enhance the topography of this part of the face, the cheekbones, but I kind of want to downplay the topography of this part of my face, like the marionette lines, And I feel like that Givenchy powder did a really good job of doing that, kind of like downplaying the topography of this part of my face. The Merit Brow Pomade, it's good. You know what I mean? It doesn't give me that ultra hold, but what it does do, it does very, very well. My custom eyeshadow palette, could not love it more. I feel like this is really the star of the video, the triumph of the video. It's so exciting to build my own palette, use it, and realize that what I always say is true. I love my single eyeshadows more than I love brand new palettes. Unexpectedly learned a life lesson about bronzer and blush on my cheeks today, and I'm really enjoying the way that these two products look. And I also really like the lip gloss. So overall, a success. This was fun to film. It was fun to mix old and new. It was fun to get carried away. And I'm really grateful to you for watching until the end. I hope that you enjoyed it. And I really hope that you are remembering to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.